I found out that this man, who was Dr. Malachi York, had been arrested with allegations of child molestation. And I read that in the Athens Banner Herald. One thing I thought was odd when I read the article was that it was indicated that he had a plea bargain in both the state case, because he had a state and federal case, state case and the federal case. Well, most attorneys know that you really can't plea bargain in the federal system as far as agreeing on a sentence. And so about June of that year, I read that the federal judge denied the plea agreement in the federal case. All right? And I knew at that point, I said, he has a problem. And so I'm feeling my obligation as a black attorney to find out as much as I can about this, because it seems like this is a big injustice.
I ran into a couple of, like, Nicole Lopez, I ran into her at Lenox Mall. Oh, I hadn't seen her since 89, 90, so it was like very nice to see her. She was my childhood sweetheart at one point, so I was like, oh, okay, great. So we kicked it, and then we hung out a few times, and then it was like a couple other people, like, you know, we connected, and was like kind of, hey, I ain't seen you in a while, blah, 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 blah. Now, mind you, at this point, I don't know the extent of what's going on up there. I knew what I saw when I left. There was no one explaining to me anything else. Until one day we all riding to Miami together, right? And then all of a sudden, like, this whole big thing came out. It was like a bunch of people grew up together. You know, I go to Miami for Memorial Day weekend every year anyway. You know, that's just one of my pleasures. I go to Miami actually 10 times a year. I just like the place, you know? So I decided, okay, cool, I'm going. If y'all want to roll, we'll rent 2 vans. Everybody will chip in and we'll ride down there. It ended up starting with 5 people. It ended up being 25 people, you know?
Jacob wanted all of us meaning me, Nicole, Karima, he was talking to a couple of people, different people that left the community. He wanted us to bring a case against his father.
I think if I was that instrumental in the case, I would have been on the stand. That's how I believe.
How come Jacob York didn't testify?
I don't know why the government didn't put him up. I think it was too dangerous to put him up. I wouldn't call Jacob York because I know he would say a lot of negative stuff, but they weren't going to call Jacob York for me to properly cross-examine him to bring out the fact that all of these witnesses went on a trip to South Beach in Miami a little bit before they started going to the government and kind of came up with this plan. We had witnesses as to that. We even had a witness that was willing to say that Jacob York stated that he was setting his father up. But the government, the court wouldn't allow it to come in. His own sister stated that Jacob York stated to him that he was going to create this story and bring his father down.
Yeah, he's behind it all because we all sat down and we talked and, you know, we was going to figure out how we was going to set it up. We were just going to back each other's story in whichever way we could, even if it meant lying for each other.
The charges brought up against Malachi were all lies. We did back each other's story up.
And we had another witness to corroborate that testimony that said he heard when Jacob York came, the witness stated that Jacob York came to him to help him commit some check fraud. But while he was talking to him, he talked about this whole thing he's doing to bring down Dr. York.
The conspiracy to bring down Dr. York was known by me in 2002. The main axis of and the motive behind it was Jacob York's, also known or is known as, his legal name is Yaqub Muhammad. The conspiracy that involved him and the numerous other ex-members of our community.
I know all of the alleged victims personally. They lived at my house. I was in South Beach with them, like I said before, and I just want the public to know what really happened. To know that Malachi York is innocent. He never molested any children. He didn't do anything.
Now, of course, I did help a lot of these people get jobs. I did help them, you know, get their lives together. You know, help them get apartments, help them, you know, like I did that for a lot of them. Sure, no problem. And a lot of them ended up being witnesses, or half of them or whatever ended up being witnesses. Great. I have a loyalty to them that I don't have to York. Do you understand my point?
The purpose of this study is to offer a history of the Nawabian controversy.
Y'all done moved out of downtown all the way out of here. I don't even know where I'm at.
I said I was going to take all y'all back to Egypt with me. I can't because the Arabs are messing everything up, so hell, I'm bringing Egypt here for you. of us can do.
Pa Aswad Mir. In our language, that means the Black Pyramid.
Struggles over building permits in Putnam County is creating racial tension.
The leader was arrested. There was a huge FBI Waco-style raid.
Breaking news out of Putnam County, where we told you federal agents and local sheriff's deputies are on the scene at the Nuwaubian compound serving search warrants there. The Nuwaubians and their leader, Malachi York, have been at it with the county for some time now about some zoning issues.
Everywhere black people are in America today and Africa, war to get us up off the land.
There is no such thing as a Nuwaubian nation. It's the United States of America's only nation I know of where we are here today.
The Putnam County Sheriff's Department tells Fox 24 News construction crews began tearing down the entrance gates to the compound today.
The Nuwaubian compound crumbles to the ground, removing what some call an eyesore in the community.
The compound's former Nuwaubian leader, Malachi York, was sentenced to over 130 years in prison on charges of child molestation and racketeering.
Since the group moved to Georgia, it has been perceived as a threat to public order, as a dangerous, potentially violent Black Panther-like, quote, racist organization that's planning to, quote, take over the county.
The judges work together, the lawyers are working together, the building inspectors working together, everybody's all teamed up in a little KKK clique down there.
Crime does pay when you think about it, because if I get locked up, a lot of people get paid. The lawyer gets paid, the judge gets paid. So we got to take all those things into consideration.
The group does not have a history of violence, and yet the FBI's 2002 military raid on Tamaray involved armored trucks, tear gas, snipers, helicopters, mounted with machine guns, not to mention body bags and a refrigerated van.
Now I'm thinking revenge. If Malachi York is to be judged, if he's to be judged at all, it should be in a court of the black nation. Not this devil.
But so I see vans coming down, and Mona was like, she was happy, cooking more dinner. And I had asked her, what was that? And I told her to look at it. And she said, get down. And I was like, why? She said, just get down. So we was all ducking down and getting how scary it was. Some kids were very scared. They was like, I wish I would die already.
We got those patting us down as we left the door too. They patted us down. We had the man was by the side with the infrared on you as you're walking down the stairs. You can see it as you're walking down the stairs on your shirt. And I know I reached to grab my shoes, and the guy was like, don't move, some movements. I was like, all right, so I was walking down. We had to walk on. Some people had no shirts on. They didn't let us grab our shirts, our shoes, nothing. They was patting us down and everything.
And their mother was telling them about people coming up with the guns. First thing I thought was two people with guns right when we come out the door to shoot us. But it was different. It was better than that.
My mother went to the door and she yelled out, the door is locked. And they said, open the door. So my mother unlocked the door and she opened the door. When she opened it, they was pointing the gun right at my head. And they told me I was like mostly the youngest. I was only the only boy in there. So they told me while I was walking down the stairs, they was checking my pocket.
We had to walk barefooted on the hot concrete, and they was eating our food, using our dishcloths to wipe their sweat and stuff like that. It was me, Lizzie under one bed, and the other bed next to ours was Lori and Eli under the other bed. And they told us to get from under the bed before they blow our brains out of our head. And that's when I was scared. So I got up slowly. Hank was telling us to get up slowly, put our hands in the air. They had the guns in our backs and in our heads. And I was shaking real bad. I was real scared.
It was like something like you see on the news, like war in Iraq. People with the guns running in. That's how I basically seen it.